Thank you to Thane School of Yoga for giving me this beautiful platform to present my views today on the topic Bhakti Yoga. So, before we begin this class, there is as usual मेरा एक छोटा सा declaration होता है जो मैं हमेशा किसी भी presentation के पहले share करती हूँ. So the declaration is I'm going to share whatever the things I learned through my journey of yoga, dance, or other practices. I am trying my best to put whatever I learned through, but if I lack somewhere, so please pardon me because my limitations are not the limitations of literature. You can refer to the literature. I'm trying to just present whatever the little portion I understood from the studies of the literature. So today we are going to start and study what is meant by Bhakti Yoga. We often refer Bhakti Yoga, but we sometimes are not aware of what does really the Bhakti Yoga means. So भक्ति को बहुत बार हम लोग डिवोशन इस नाम से भी कभी कभी यूज कर लेते हैं, but it is not just the devotion, it is kind of a higher devotion, the upper devotion. Basically it is the cultivation of intense love for whatever the form of divinity we are resonating with. Now this could be any god, it could be a demigod, or it could be anything to which we are referring as the divinity or to which we are resonating ourselves with. Now, as we all know, there are four parts of yoga like Raja Yoga, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. All these parts of yogas are actually based on certain direction. For example, like Raj Yoga is focusing on the control of mind, which is the seat of all emotions. Once we are able to control the mind, we are able to control our emotions. When we are referring to the Karma Yoga, so it is a kind of fruitless desire to perform the work. So it is the desire, but there is no execution of the fruit, but still we are going to perform it because we always think of others rather than prioritizing ourselves at the first. So it is the Nishkama Karma, which is referred as the Karma in the Karma Yoga. When we are referring to the Jnana Yoga, it is something of isolating ourselves without isolating ourselves. So it is kind of relating who we are without relating ourselves with that of the quality of the thing. So we try to understand who we are by lots of analysis, by lots of techniques, lots of knowledge, and so on. So slowly we try to understand who we are not, and slowly we come to the end that who we are. And this entire journey is referred as the Jnana Yoga in the path of the yoga. The fourth path is the Bhakti Yoga that we are going to study today. It is basically the rendering to the divinity that we are resonating with, or we are trying to put it as a resonation of ourselves, or the resonation which we are looking for into the future for ourselves. So it is the complete surrender to that resonating divinity with the sublimation. Now what does the sublimation means? We often use the words like regulation, control, without understanding that these words have no place in the Bhakti Yoga. Because what is the Bhakti Yoga, or what is included in the Bhakti Yoga, is something called as the sublimation. Now the sublimation is a scientific phenomenon. So it is something like transition of a substance directly from one form to another. Like for an example, we all know ki if solid form is heated, it turns into the liquidified or semi liquidified, and when the liquid form is heated again, when it is burned again, it turns into the gaseous state. So sublimation is something in the science, when you heat a solid form, it automatically gets transmitted or sublimated into the gaseous form without going through the liquid form. So it is the direct upliftment into the state. So in Bhakti Yoga, what we are focusing on is to sublimate our emotions to the higher emotions called as the devotion to the supreme divinity. Now here हम लोगों का जो liquid वाला portion का part रहता है, the state of liquidification gets automatically nullified. So it's like jumping stepping into the lift and directly jumping to the uppermost floor without going through each and every floor through the staircase. So it's the smallest and easiest path of achieving oneness or realization of ourselves, but yet it is a little bit difficult. Now, why it is said to be the easiest and why at the same time it is referred as the difficult, we are going to study it through upcoming few slides. Before that, just a second. Yeah. So before that, let us study what are the types of bhakti. The very first that we often use to practice is the apara bhakti, which is also referred as the lower bhakti. And our ultimate aim is to transfer or to sublimate our bhakti into the para bhakti, which in the simple words is referred as the higher bhakti. So the apara bhakti is the practice of using external aids, and it is like rituals to express our devotion, like we used to do, right? In the daily routine also, we used to do puja. So it is like an external bhakti to the form of the god that you are resonating with. In our daily routine, we also play some kinds of actions which are reflecting the apara bhakti towards our family, like serving, cooking the food, keeping your house clean, or earning good money to keep your family feeded and to have a good success, good future of your family. So all these are kind of the apara bhakti. So we are using the external aids to show our affection, to show our surrenderance to our better half or our family or our loved ones. So all these are the apara bhakti. Now our aim is to transfer, to transmit and to sublimate this apara bhakti to the para bhakti, where it is actually the course of the time that we try to develop the parabhakti. It is not something like I am sitting and I close my eyes and I said, now I'm turning myself into the aparabhakta. It won't happen. It has to have a specific time. Then only you can get into the path of the parabhakti. So it is the natural course in which the lower bhakti gets transmuted into the upper bhakti, upper emotions, and which is free, which is like a freeing the bhakta from all the sufferings. So even though the bhakta is suffering, he said, I am suffering. From English wala suffer to the Hindi wala suffer. He get the transfer. So from the suffering to the journey. So he enjoys his journey, as we say, yes, मैं बहुत अच्छे से सफर कर रहा हूँ. So this is what the para bhakti is. Now the main objective of the bhakti yoga we are going to study right now. The very fundamental object is to transfer our divining, our demonic. Sorry, it is my mistake. I mistakenly wrote it demonic, divine to demonic, but actually it is the demonic to the divine. My mistake. Please make correction. So the objective of bhakti yoga is to transmute our demonic state or demonic qualities or demonic identifications of ourselves into the divine one. Now for that, as we all know, the very fundamental text or the very fundamental literature in our ancient India referring to the bhakti yoga is Bhagavad Gita. उसका जो अगर literally if we try to translate it literally in words of English, actually it becomes the songs of God. So this is not only the songs of God, it is like a Bible, it is like a grantha, the blueprint of everybody's life. So and whenever we are suffering with any difficulty, whenever we are facing any difficult problem, this is the Bible that can show you the guidance, the right and proper guidance. So in the Bhakti Yoga also, we value a lot to the Bhagavad Gita as a fundamental literature for practicing Bhakti Yoga. So there is a one beautiful shloka in the 16th chapter, third and fourth shloka, which explains the qualities of being demonic state and being in divine state. So what are that? So the Krishna depicts to the Arjuna Teja Kshamadhuti Shaucham Adroho Nati Manita Bhavanti Sampadam Daivim Abhijatasya Bharata. So these are the divinic states of being in the divine. What are they? It is the splendor, the ability to forgive. These people who can let go the people easily, who can forgive the people easily, are born with the divinic state. They maintain the cleanliness not only on the physical level but but also at the emotional level. Like many times, what happens is somebody says, somebody open up their heart and they go, even though the person is left, we are suffering with the burden that person is having. So it's like we are overbearing the garbage that person might have thrown to you unintentionally. So they are able to maintain the cleanliness. There is absence of pride, there is absence of malice. So whatever they are doing as a service. No kind of like, I am the only one who can do it, I am the only one who is doing this, other one no, anyways no one can do it. So all these qualities get of the lower emotion get transferred to the higher emotion and born as an absence of the malice and the pride. Or these are the qualities of the divine state, being in the divine state. Now what are the demonic qualities? So in the third shloka of this 16th chapter, it is like that dambho darpo bhimanascha krodha parushyameva cha ajnanam chabhijatasya partha sampattamasurim. So he says, Krishna says, His Holiness says, just a minute, yeah, hypocrisy or arrogance, pride, anger, sturdiness, sorry, all are the qualities of the person who is in the demonic state. Now, when we refer to ourselves, we all are having this demonic and so-called divine state within ourselves. Sometimes we are able to let go the people. Sometimes we hold the grudges. Sometimes we can ignore the mistakes. Sometimes we cannot. Sometimes we are ignorant to the situation, and sometimes we are be aware or acknowledge to the situation or the identification of ourselves. So when we reflect ourselves, we realize we are the combination of demonic and the divine. Sometimes divine states, sometimes divine qualities are dominating, sometimes demonic qualities are dominating. So we all are trying to balance our naya here and there. The ultimate aim of the bhakti yoga, the practice of bhakti yoga, is to transmulate, to transfer and to sublimate all our demonic uh, actions, all our demonic qualities, all our demonic thoughts into that of the divinity. So basically what happens is, we all know that I am little bit prideful, right? Sometimes at some time, some period or some situation, you realize I'm little bit ignorant, or I'm little bit arrogant to particular person or to particular condition. So we try to control it, right? We try to control it. So from outside we are smiling at the person saying yes I do agree. From inside it's like a burning fumes which are saying when to come up, when to come up. You are looking forward ki jab ye banda piche mud jaye, so I'll vomit all the arrogance of mine, I'll omit all of my anger. So it is called as controlling, right? It is not the sublimation. What we are referring here in the bhakti yoga is to automatically transfer. By the way, the word automatically is used very easily, but it is indeed very difficult task to transmute and sublimate your anger into the love, that to unconditional love to the person who have ever hurted you. So this is how, even though this path sounds to be very simple, sometimes it turns to be very difficult. So the next thing that we are going to look after is the further explanation of this objective from the demonic state to the divinic state. So whenever we are referring to any kind of loving words, or whenever we are saying that yes, I am the follower of Bhakti Yoga, most of the time uh, we are referring to the Kama. We are referring to the Kama. So the Bhakti is some grossly or grossly used word, but actually Sanskrit is so precious and it has so many facets that even a single word can be understood in many dimensions depending upon the perception of the person. But the true essence of the bhakti in the Sanskrit is prema plus a sharanagati. Now what does prema means and what does the sharanagati means? Let us study it step by step. The very first thing we try to culminate within ourselves regarding any point, any person, or any situation is the karma. So like it is like a short time, it is like common likes and dislikes. So if you are like, we are having the class, we are having the class of 15, 16 people here, we all are having interest in yoga, so it is kind of a karma bhakti. We all are having common likes and dislikes. This is a very fundamental level, very first prior state, which is referred as the kama. When we are able to uh, accommodate this kama with that of the sacrifices, with that of the tyaga, it converts into the prema, right? So we all are ready to come here and to attend the classes because we are having the same likes and dislikes. But how much sacrifice we are really wanted to do or we are able to do for our life will determine whether we are having the kamic bhakti or whether we are having the premik bhakti. So if you are ready to sacrifice, it means you have step up a little bit and converted your kama into the prema. Most of the time when we build up the relations, when we build up the uh, new social communications, that is only having the base of kama, and that is why after a few days we realize there is no sense in the relationship, because what is lacking there is the tyaga. The next, followed with this kama and tyaga, the third addition is of the sharanagati, is of the surrenderance. So there you surrender yourself by whole to the person, to the work that you are doing with. So that is the point where we start to step up into the world of bhakti. But still we are at the very first step of bhakti because we have a huge ladder to ladder up upon. So the fundamental objective of the bhakti yoga is to transmute and to sublimate the kama into the bhakti, kama to prema, to slowly into the bhakti. It's a long time long time work. It won't happen within a minute, within a week, within a few months. So it's a long time process. In short, the objective, the basic fundamental objective of the bhakti yoga is to transmute and sublimate our apara bhakti into the para bhakti, or the kama bhakti slowly into the prema bhakti, and then slowly prema bhakti into the bhakti, true bhakti, where our prema is accompanied with that of the sharanagati or the surrenderance. And the very beautiful example in our epics is the Hanumana, the great bhakta. And that's why there is one line in Hanuman Chalisa कि आपका नाम सुनते रहेंगे तो किसी और देव का कुछ ये करने की जाप करने की जरूरत ही नहीं है. There is one line in the Hanuman Chalisa: if someone is worshipping Hanumana, no need to worship any other god or demigod. The true essence of that line is not to leave your rest of the gods and start worshipping the Hanumana. The true essence is try to be Hanumana. Try to be just like the Hanumana. Once you surrender, there is no differentiation. There is no ye wala, wo wala God, because once you surrender, you realize that there is nothing difference within you and that ultimate God. There is nothing difference with so-called A God and B God and C God. They all are just one, but having the different dimensions of understanding and perception. Yes. So the next is the Pancha Mahabhava. It is very fun, a very important part of Bhakti Yoga. Like there are the 5 bhavas through which one can culminate this Bhakti. What are they? We are going to study them one by one, and at the same time, I'll try to put some examples with that bhava, so that it will be much easier for all of us to keep remembering those. The very first is the Dasya Bhava. So it is like the Bhakta is a servant. Bhakta is the servant to the master. So there is a total surrenderance, and he do not bother himself for doing anything. All the time he is ready to do the work of his master, the work of his called as the great devoted, sublimated, higher, purified, and so called the highest ultimate state. Now, the best example is, as I said, the Hanumana. So he was always ready to do whatever the chores, whatever the work that that Rama is going to tell. He don't have any doubt within himself. He had just a small doubt whether I will be able to cross this sea or not. But when he realized that Ram is with me, my master is with me, he overcome with all of his weaknesses. But what made it happen is the surrenderance. Once he surrendered himself to the Rama, he realized, yes, I can climb, I can cross this huge sea without any limitation. So the very beautiful example is that of the Hanumana Bhakti to the his Lord called as Lord Rama. The next example is of Madhura Bhava. Now Madhura is something above and higher to the worldly relationship between the man and woman, right? So it is also referred as the Kanta Bhava. The word Madhura is itself alternative word to the sweetness, but there are also the levels of sweetness. So it is the highest sweetness, the highest form of the bhakti, where devotee sees the god as his lover, where devotee sees the god as his lover or her lover. But there is no relationship of worldly man and woman love. It is something above and higher to that of the worldly relationship. So the devotee is ready to offer herself or himself along with her own higher soul, not just the soul, but the higher soul to the God, to the entity or the whatever the form the God, whatever form of the God that Bhakta is worshipping. And the examples of this Madhura Bhava or Kanta Bhava are Radha, Mirabai, Gauranga, Jayadeva. So there was one beautiful story of Mirabai. Yeah, sorry, Krishna. I read it somewhere. I cannot remember it. So as we all know, the character in our literature, Narada Muni. So once Narad Muni was wandering, and he was always interested to look after what people are doing so that he can be a someone who can follow the path. So once he went to the Krishna and he asked Krishna, Krishna, who do you think is the best bhakta of you? Do you think it is the Radha or it is the Meera? So he says, I guess Meera is the great bhakta of mine. So Narad asked him, why come so? Everybody says Krishna and the Radha, or Radha or the Krishna. Barely some people remember the Meera. You have never met her, you've never seen her. Then why do you refer her as your great bhakta? He neither serve you directly. So why are you saying that she is the very great bhakta of mine? So Krishna said to him, okay, go to Mathura, go to everybody, go to all those Gopur Vasi, and tell them that Krishna is not feeling well. He need your charana dhula. So the dust from your feet, if the Krishna can get, he can eat that dust and he can get well. So Narad was surprised, and so he just followed the instructions of Lord. He went to Mathura, he asked everybody to share the dust of their feet so that the same can be offered to Lord Krishna and he can cure himself. Everybody said, no, I cannot do it. How come I share the dust from that too from my feet to the Lord? He's upstream, he's very up to mine, and how can I share the dust? So they were feeling little bit shame. They were not ready to give the dust of their feet. So he went to the Mathura, went to all the Gopas and Gopis, everybody, even the mother and the sister, everybody, no one was ready. So he went to the Radha. Even Radha said, how can I offer the dust from my feet? Because it is like a sin to me to offer the dust. At the last, yes, Saraswati ji, you raise your hand. Sorry, I cannot hear your voice. You are mute.
Can I say something if you don't mind?
Yes, yes, sure, sure.
I think that was between Rukmini and Radha. It's not Radha and Meera because Meerabai did not exist during that time.
I may be making some
Ah,
mistake. I don't know, but
it is between Rukmini. Rukmini was his wife at that
yeah,
time.
yeah.
And Rukmini was always jealous of why is he saying Radha, Radha always. Always he's saying Radha and as a friend, as you said, na? As if he's a friend only. No, nothing bad in this mind. As a friend, he was saying she used to be very jealous. So to resolve this issue only, he told Narad Muni to go and collect the dust from everybody to ask. So Radha is the only one who gave the dust. Doesn't matter if I get sin. Paap laga to lagne do. If I get
Yeah,
sin,
yeah.
okay. But I want Krishna to be free from headache. His head.
Yeah, so yeah, that was the same reason why at the end.
This is the story which I read in Bhagavad and
Okay, okay. Sorry, then I might have heard it wrong. I don't know. It was
no, it's
from
okay. You
wherever
must
I
have
read.
read it in some, see, classical books are there, na?
Yes, yes.
Some story books. In story books, they might have mentioned like that. It's okay. It's nothing like that.
So yes, yes. Thank you for correcting me so that I can make correction whenever I'll repeat this example again in the future.
Rukmini and Radha. Yes.
Yeah, okay. So
Okay.
at the end, as Saraswati ma'am is said, she was the Rukmini, and the relationship between the Rukmini and Radha. At the end, lady was ready to share the dust from her feet, because at that time she was not in the mood to discuss and to differentiate whether it is sinful or not. What was more important for her is to have the good health of the God, the one to whom she is worshipping. So at that time, the bhakta is ready to do whatever the things that the master is ordering, with the love, with the madhura bhava. And so that is the love above and over to the earthly relationship between the man and woman. This is called as the madhura bhava or the kanta bhava. The next we are going to study is the vatsalya bhava. So it is the motherly love, as the bhakta is worshipping to the deity just like a child. So bhakta is the mother and the deity is a child. So there is a mother and child relationship. As mother takes care of took care of her children, she used to feed the children, she used to bath the children, she used to take care of every small aspect of the taking care of the children. The bhakta take care of the god. So we often used to follow the vatsalya bhava, like we used to bath the god. So it is also kind of a vatsalya bhava. Whenever we are doing the worship, it is like a combination of all these pancha bhava, but we are now studying it segregately, alag alag karke hum log abhi isko seekh rahe hain. So there is no fear of the bhava, there is no fear in this kind of a bhava, because god is just like your child. So, like Yashoda, for Yashoda, the Krishna was a child, and she was worshipping the Lord Krishna, the form of Vishnu in the form of a child. So she used to take care of a child, even though child do some mischievous acts, even though he's like chhed kar raha hai kisi ka, anything is happening. She used to look at her as she used to look at that act as the play of God. So for her, there is no anger, there is no supremacy, there is no like kuch upar nahi kuch niche nahi. It's just like the motherly relationship between the bhakta and the god. So there is no fear, no worries, as like mother take care of the children and protects the children from everything, the bhakta is trying to protect the god from everything. So this is the form called as the Vatsalya Bhava. The next is the Sakha Bhava, and the best example of this Sakha Bhava is like we are studying and referring to the Bhagavad Gita, the Sakha relationship between the Krishna and the Arjuna. Yes, so this Sakha Bhava is like when the Bhakta sees the God as his best friend. So like we share everything with our best friend, those things which we cannot share with our family members, with our mother, father, sister, siblings, our rest of the friend, we used to keep it open to our best friends, right? We do not think ki samne wala vyakti kya kahega, will my friend underestimate my abilities, what will my friend think if I share something like this. We share all the great things, we all share all the miseries, we share our weaknesses, we share our strengths. So this is the relationship between the bhakta and the divine form of the god, where there is no limitation of sharing. Everything is been shared, like Arjuna and the Krishna. So Sudama and the Krishna, where there is no supremacy, all are equal. Like we say no thank you and no sorry in the friendship. So it doesn't mean you can hurt the god, but it means there is a divine love, the bounding that you know, if I need this thing, before you go to the before you go to perform any task, your friend is ready with whatever things you need. So you know what god needs and god know what you needs before you ask him. But for that, you have to make the relationship stronger. It doesn't mean you are sitting here and you think god will provide me, god will provide me, because god know what I really need. Yes, he will provide you, but first you have to develop the relationship. Until and unless you develop such kind of relationship where you don't have to say a single word and everything will be present for you. But relationship maintaining and developing relation is itself a very huge path, which for which we might need some incarnations, not only a single lifetime, but many incarnations we might need for that. So the fifth bhava is the bhava of shanta bhava. This is actually the very difficult bhava to be performed. The shanta means the peaceful, the shanta bhava means being peaceful. So the devotee is shanta or is in peaceful, He do not jump and dance if he is happy. He do not cry and shout if he is sad. He enjoys everything with the equanimity. So his heart is filled with the joy, with the love, but he is not in a mood to show it off. He is like remain calmful and steady with the love within himself. Even though the world is squirring, even though the world is shifting, fighting, even though he is one of the part of the world, he does not disturb his inner silence with that of the outer coral. Neither he gets disturbed with that of his inner coral. So there is the equanimity, ekdam shanti, na kuch khushi, na kuch dukh, the stillness, the middle path. So the very beautiful example of this is Bhishma. Even though he knew some bad is happening, he was bounded with his karma. He cannot help somebody even though he know that something is going wrong. He cannot stop somebody because he was bounded with the karma, and so he didn't had any agony. Even when you know that something bad is happening, you know, you start keep hustling within yourself, you start pouring and burning within yourself that I cannot do something, but I know this is something wrong happening in front of my eyes. So even though the Bhishma knew that bad is happening and I cannot stop it from happening because we all are bounded with the karma that we are having on our account, he stayed very calm. Even on his deathbed, he was still calm. So this is called as the Shanta Bhava. And another example of this Shanta Bhava is that of the Yudhishthira. So Yudhishthira, the Sanskrit name and its explanation is Yudhishthira. So it doesn't matter how the world is going here and there, turning ups and down, that person used to stay very calm. And that was the reason when in the fight of that Mahabharata, there was one guy from the Kaurava side which was undefeatable by anybody. Rest of the four people in the Pandavas, not even by the Arjuna, not even by the very powerful Bhima. When Yudhishthir was asked to fight with him, he was able to defy that person. Why is that so? Because whenever that person had a quality. If he's fighting with somebody and somebody fights him back with the anger, वो व्यक्ति का एंगर डबल हो जाता था. So he had the quality that he was able to get the energy of the person standing on the opposite side. When the person fighted with the Arjuna got agitated, and so the agitation was brought back by that person. When he was fighting with the Bhima was so powerful, agitated and angry with him because he had killed so many people at the Pandava side. So that anger of and irritation, the agitation was brought back by the guy. But when this person from the Kaurava side come in front of the Yudhishthira, Yudhishthir was neither happy, was neither angry. He was very peaceful. And so when he fighted, that person start losing the energy. Right? Many times it happens like somebody is disturbing you and you keep shouting, so the person gets enjoying. The more you shout, the more person gets enjoyment, and so the more person keep disturbing you. The moment you stop the reflection, the repulsion of your action, the person feels no joy in disturbing you, so he'll leave you. So that is called as the Shanta Bhava, but it's very difficult to practice because if the person is continuously disturbing you, it's really very difficult to stay calm and not to say anything. So these are the Pancha Bhavas, the ways, Pancha Bhavas that can be practiced for culminating the higher form of the bhakti. Now, for practicing these Panchabhavas, we have the nine marga, nine different forms through which we can cultivate this Panchabhava. Now, one by one, let us study them. The very first is Shravanam. So it is about hearing the God name, and it is like recalling and meditating. It's not just hearing. Many times what we used to do is play the Hanuman Chalisa, play something Gayatri Mantra in the morning, and we keep doing our work. So it is not the Shravanam. We are just hearing it. There is a little bit. There is actually the very great difference between hearing and the Shravanam. Shravanam is something that which you do continuously in the meditative position. So it's not just simply hearing, it is the meditation on what you are hearing. So it is something called as understanding what you are repeating. So many times it is said it doesn't matter how many times you count. 108 बार जाप करने से कुछ नहीं होता है, बट एक बार भी अच्छे से जाप किए, so that is equivalent to chanting the name of the God for 108 times. So हनुमान चालीसा में भी बोला गया है कि जो 7 बार पाठ कर कोई छूटे ही बंदी महासुख होई. So what does it mean? People what used to do, दिन में से 4 बार 5 बार वो 7-7 बार पढ़ते हैं, right? हर दिन 7 बार पढ़ेंगे. The reason of practicing this 7 bar is to submerge your mind, not only to hear it, to shravan it, but to submerge your mind and your whole identity while you are reading or while you are chanting that Hanuman Chalisa. And that's really, really very difficult. So we have to meditate on what we are hearing. We have to speak what we are hearing. So automatically, this is the entire process of Shramanam, to hear, to understand, to analyze it, to diversify it, and to keep the essence. And so when you are done with that last step, automatically what you speak is as equivalent to what you hear. It's like completely speaking what you have heard. And that is the reason why sometimes it happens कि बहुत एक चीज कोई व्यक्ति बोलता है, we cannot understood it, we doesn't value it, but वही चीज अगर कोई दूसरा व्यक्ति बोलता है, we value it, because the difference is the person who is telling right now might have experienced it. When you experience something, what you expel through your mouth is not just the words, it's the energy. So that energy actually works, and that is the real Shravanam. So you could say that person was really doing Shravanam, because he just not heard the word, he analyzed it, he took the essence, and so he speak it. It's not just recalling what you speak. It has a deeper meaning of the Shravanam. The next pathway of practicing bhakti yoga is the kirtanam. So it is the singing of the name. It could be in the form of japa, it could be form of the bhajan or the katha. Now here is beautiful experience of mine I like to share here. Once we went to Omkareshwar, and there were a few people singing and dancing in the bhajan with all of that bhakti kind of bhava with them. I was still kid that time, I'm still kid right now, learning little bit day by day. So as my inside child gets activated, and I wanted to dance with them. Being a dancer, you know, you cannot keep yourself silent when music is being played. So I asked my mother, can you shoot my video with them when I am dancing? So I did dance, they were singing and they were doing repeated movements. It was like very boring, specifically for the classical dancer who have lot of actions to do on a single music. I found it little bit boresome. So I danced for a few minutes, and then after I sat, and then we come back. When we were boarding the return journey, I just opened up my camera and I was looking through all the videos and shoots and photos. I said, my mother, I doesn't you think I was dancing better as compared to them? So my mother said, I think no, you were not dancing good as compared to them. So I said, how come you said so? Because you know, you look at my expressions, I was giving good expressions. Look at my movements, they were graceful, they was on the beat. Those ladies were not dancing on the beat. See, I tried every aspect of the dancing aspect, dancing art, to be at the accurate. What my mother said really made me to think, and I'm still practicing, trying to practice it. What my mother said, she said, you were just practicing the dance, they were practicing the bhajan. So they were actually were submerged into the bhajan. There was no differentiation between themselves and the bhajan. Even though there was a repetition of the movement, even though those girls and the ladies were not dancing on the beat, they were looking so graceful, because they lost themselves in the dance. So they identified themselves with that of the bhajan. They found it that they were merged into the bhajan of the divinity that they are singing with, singing of. So that time I realized dancing is not something moving your body and your facial muscles. It is really submerging into what you are singing. So Kirtanam is not just only the singing of the name of God, it is actually realizing the essence of the name of the God, trying to unite ourselves with that of the essence and then singing it. So it's not just it's not just playing in your music, it's about realizing the essence behind it. And that is the reason why बहुत से पंडित लोगों का गायन सुनते सुनते, even though you don't understand what that means, you start feeling little bit calm. You, for fraction of second, you realize you were not thinking, you were not breathing, but you are still alive. So that is the reason, that is the point when you really started to feel the kirtanam. Even though they were not singing any name of the God, they were just doing but you realize the essence of that. So that is the kirtanam. The third is smaranam. It is not again the remembering of the God, but remembering the qualities of the God. So we keep doing japa all the time. Like I have seen many people, they used to say, they used to follow that what is the terminology? I forgot. Ki kuch baat nahi, maun. So they used to do maun. They will not speak for a few days, they will not speak for a few hours, and if they speak, they'll speak only Rama Nama, only Krishna Nama. There are few people who will used to follow it. So the Smaranam doesn't means not to just speak the name, because many times what the people do is they will shout at people with the facial expressions, you know, they'll shout at people with their hand gestures. They are agitated, but the thing is they have tried themselves best to keep not to open their mouth. So it's not real maunam. The real maunam is keeping yourself in the practice of smaranam. If you are trying to keep your mouth closed for a few hours, it means whatever is inside you, keep remembering that. So even though you are remembering the name of the God only, do not keep remembering Ram, 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 because Ram, Ram, if you keep repeating Ram, 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 it is not working. Even if you are keeping Mara, 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 so it is not working. What actually working is the Rama Naam, Rama Tattva. So Rama Rasayana jinke pasa, Hanuman Chalisa mein bhi ek bataya gaya hai. Why I'm focusing to the lot on the Ram and Hanuman, because fortunately today is the Rama Navami. So considering that occasion, I'm again and again coming with that example. So Valmiki also said Mara, 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 because he forgot ki Ram tha kya Mara tha. He forgot what was the name of the Lord. It was Mara or Ram. But he keep chanting it over and over. But he tried to submerge his identity with that of the Rama or Mara. And so it comes up Ramayana. Yes. So this is the Smaranam with full of awareness and union of your lower nature with that of the higher. The next is Pada Sevanam. So it is resorting to the feet of the God and keeping our attitude outside. I'll say outside, not aside, keeping our attitude outside. And so we keep asking them to take care of ourselves. Right? Many times we used to say, one of my friend, he had very good habit of, if he wants something, if he's feeling something good, or he's in a good condition, he'll say everything is because of the Narayana Chikrupa. So it's by the grace of the Narayana. If he's not feeling good, if he's in a unfortune, or if he faced the problem, he used to say it's the grace of the God. So Pada Sevanam is something you offer it to the God, whether it's good or it's bad. Even it's bad, you feel it is the test given by the God. If it is good, you refer it as the gift by the God. So you keep your attitude aside. You keep your attitude aside. You keep your little intelligence aside to solve that problem. And when you surrender the problem to the God, God will take care of it. When you keep your play, your happiness in the small things within you, it's like you are working with the attitude. But when you keep your attitude aside, when you say this joy belongs to the God will keep maintaining it. Otherwise, you have to do a lot of effort to keep that joyful things within your circumstances. So again, our limitations are not the limitations of God, is the peak line of practicing Pada Sevanam. The next is Archanam. Here, a few people practice some physical worshipping rituals. Few people practice the mental worshipping rituals. So here, what is mattering a lot is not the quantity. Like yajna is also a kind of a Archanam. For many peoples, how many things you offered in the yajna is important. But for many peoples, how many sacrifice you did, how many weaknesses you sacrificed in the yajna is very important. So Archanam is not just bathing your God, that statue of the God with that of the ghee and honey and milk, vagera. It is something offering yourself. It is something offering yourself whatever the best you have. Whatever the best we have, you are going to offer it to the God. It is referred as the Archanam. The next is Vandanam. So it is the salutation to the God and going down or prostrating before God physically or mentally. So that is the reason why in our Indian tradition there is one thing, like we always worship the God before doing anything good. Like गणेश जी को हम लोग याद करते हैं, we'll worship the गणेश जी, और हमारी जो कुल देवता है, we used to worship them. So it is a kind of Vandanam. Now, whatever we are doing in the Vandanam is not just recalling their name, it's not just doing the puja of or the ritual, physical or the outer ritual for the divinity or that form. It is something offering. You try to salute the divinity within that divine form. And that is the reason why in many classes, many schools, there is what you could say, tradition of saying something when you see people. Like in our school, Thane School of Yoga, we used to say Namo Nama. So it is not like hello. So it is like we are saluting the divinity. In one of our school, there is the Atma Namaste. So that means we are saluting the real soul of yourself. So that when we will be identifying yourself with that of the angry person, with that of a very jealous person, I will remember, first of all, you are a Atma, the soul, pure nature. So you try to tune up yourself with that of the supreme legacy of that divine form through the vandanam. The next is dasyam. So here the servant is just like the das, the service. He's at the service of the god. He's the some humble servant of is the humble servant of the god, which enhances the cause of god realization. Because when you serve yourself as a servant to somebody, you always know that your god is there to take care of you. You always know there is a god to take care of you, whether it is something good or whether it is something bad. You always know that everything that belongs to you is actually belongs to him. So it reduces the that of the differentiation analytical aspect of our brain, cognitive aspect of our brain. Simultaneously it keeps increasing the cognitive abilities as well. But there is the relationship of servant to the god, and this path is called as the dasyam. The next is sakha. So there is a sakha bhava dominating in this. So there is a friendship. You have a good friendship with that of the god, and there is utmost confidence, no secrecy, everything is open, you can speak everything, and you can love beyond any limitation, without any limitation. So devotee try himself to bind with the god with that of the sakha bhav in the sakhyam. So the last is Atma Nivedanam. The last path or last pathway is the Atma Nivedanam. So it is utmost annihilation of saints. Yes, it is utmost annihilation of the saints of egoism and boldity consciousness. So we try to submerge our consciousness into the subconscious mindset and slowly into the highest divinity. So there is a complete surrenderance to the god, and there is no sense of separation. Like when Sita asked the Hanumana, who you are, how come I believe you that you are the messenger from the Rama. So he just opened his heart, because from inside it is not like we all can try to open our heart. It's just the symbol that inside and outside he himself was a Rama. So that is the Atma Nivedanam, the extreme surrenderance. There is no egoism, there is no conscious, so-called materialistic consciousness within yourself, separating yourself from that of your higher divine form, and there is complete sense of merge. This is called as the Atma Nivedanam. So at last, when we are winding up this session, we hopefully could realize that it is, even though sounds to be a little bit difficult, we need some other paths to make it easy. And at the end, even though we are practicing karma yoga or karma yoga, jnana yoga or raja yoga, we need the bhakti yoga. Until and unless we have the bhakti yoga, we cannot unite with the end, we cannot unite with that of the divinity. Because until and unless we surrender our everything, it could be good, it could be bad, it could be weaknesses, it could be strengths, until and unless we surrender that everything, we will not be able to identify ourselves united with that. Because the moment you are trying to keep identifying yourself with that of your weaknesses, in reality you are trying to identify yourself different from that of the divine god or that of the divinity. Because that divinity is doubtless, that divinity is speckless, he's not having any dag, kuch uske upar nahi hai. But still, if you are identifying yourself with the weaknesses, you are different from that. The moment you start to unite with that, all those weaknesses get automatically sublimated into the higher qualities. So even though it might be or it might not be the starting point of yours into the yoga, but at the end it is gonna be aimed practice in the yogic form or yogic pathway of yours to ultimately merge with that of your divine form. So that was all about this and yes, from point of view of your examination, from my experience, I'll say ki be very good in the Panchabaha Bhava and 9 forms of Navavida Bhakti Marga. This is something very important from point of view of your examination. And that's it. I hope I tried my best to give whatever I had little bit about. If there is anything I'm missing, please help me. There are many people here, so please help me to cover it up. Yes, thank you. Over to you, Vijay sir.
Absolutely superb. I always told you, you're a seasoned speaker.
Thank you.
You're a seasoned speaker.